Good afternoon. My name is James Sanderson. I'm the evangelism minister here at the Brown Street Church of Christ in Waxahachie, Texas, if we haven't been introduced before. We are in a four-part series on examining the Seventh Day Adventist Church and what do they believe? What do they teach? So we're going to discuss their doctrine today. Okay, so we're going to learn their history and doctrine. Now, we went over their history pretty well. And we're going to look at the second advent of Jesus. That's what we're going to look at in this lesson today. And this is part 3. So let's get started. Just a little advertisement here. In case this is your first time, you are on my YouTube channel. Okay. And if you'll just type in Saving Souls in the 21st Century, that's the title of my workbook, you will find 2 channels that I have. These are my newer videos. These are my older ones. Not that fond of my older ones, but hey, they work for some people. But get on there. I got all kinds of lessons on all kinds of things with the Bible. And if you would, hit that subscribe button so we can get these videos out to a higher audience. All right. Thank you so much for that. Now let's get started. When we go and we get with our Seventh-day Adventist friends, okay, our goal is to teach the truth. That's what Paul is telling the church in Ephesus here. But when we teach that truth, we must teach it in love. So when we go and we study with these other people who have different beliefs, these beliefs that don't seem to match with the Bible, make sure that we teach the truth, but do it with love and kindness. So that's our goal in this lesson today. Now, I just got to let you know, what you're about to see may shock some of you, okay? When we look at this doctrine of the Seventh-day Adventist Church. So you might want to fasten your seatbelt. We're going to get pretty deep into the Bible, but we want to understand what they teach. Now, we're going to do that for 2 purposes. Either what they teach is correct, and we need to conform to those teachings because that's what the Bible says. Or what we're going to find is that is not correct. That is not what the Bible teaches. And that will better prepare us to reach and teach and guide them back into the scriptures. That's our goal. Okay? So we are going to start with the Millerites. Now we've covered them a little bit in each lesson, but this is where the Seventh-day Adventist Church got started. And this is going to have to do with the lesson today. So make sure that you understand this well. Okay? So back in the 1800s, William Miller predicted from the Bible that the world was going to end in 1843. Okay, Jesus was going to return in 1843. That's what he predicted. Okay, what he did was he took Scripture and did a math equation with it. Bible uses numbers. And lots of people like to do math equations with the Bible, coming up with theologies. Now, the question is his theology correct? Is he correctly handling the Bible? Let me show you how he came up with the year 1843. So the Millerites' view is they're going to go to Daniel chapter 9. Daniel chapter 9 was very big to William Miller, okay? Now, if you don't have a background of the book of Daniel, you can get on my YouTube channel and watch my lessons on the book of Daniel. So you can go in depth on these chapters, okay? But in Daniel chapter 9, if you're familiar with this, there is a prophecy there. And it deals with the 77s, okay? 77s. So William Miller took this, okay? And he took this 77s and he's going to turn this into years, okay? So 490. 7 times 70 is 490, okay? And then what they're going to do is they need some starting points. So he's going to use the number 490 out of Daniel chapter 9, and their starting point is going to be right over here, 457 BC, okay? They're going to use what they believe is the year that Jesus died, 33 AD, okay? And then they're going to go back 490 years. I believe Jesus died in about 29 AD, so I believe they're about off about 4 years. Okay. And then they're going to go back and they're going to say that this is when the temple was rebuilt. And I believe they're also off about 12 years on this number. But it doesn't matter because this is a math equation that they have constructed. Okay, so this is their starting point. Their starting point is 457 BC, and they get that from Daniel chapter 9. So that's how they handle that chapter in Daniel. Now, they're going to move from that, and they're going to move over here to Daniel chapter 8. Now, I don't know how familiar you are with Daniel chapter 8, but here it talks about the 2,300 mornings and evenings. Well, the Millerites, William Miller, he decided to take the mornings and evenings and turn them into years. And since this math equation has a starting point of 457 BC, Daniel 9, from that prophecy, Daniel 8 is a totally different prophecy. They're going to add 2,300 years to that prophecy. And guess where that lands you at? 1843. And so this is what what William Miller taught, that Jesus was going to return in 1843. Now there's their math equation, okay? All right. Then they have to modify that because this is chart number 3, and they see that 1843 is not working. During 1843, they could tell this isn't lining up right. So what they have to do is they go back to Daniel chapter 9, and they grab from Daniel chapter 9 this 1, because in Daniel 9 it talks about the 7 sevens and the 62 sevens, which is 69, and then it talks about the last 7, that 1. So they're going to take the 1, bring it over to Daniel chapter 8, add that to 2,300 mornings and evenings, and now that brings you to 1844. So that's when Jesus was going to return. Do you see what William Miller was doing? Well, guess what? In 1844, Jesus didn't return. So their equation didn't work. So this is known as the Great Disappointment of 1844. All right? You see that? And what happens to the Millerites? Well, they're gone. They are no more, and they disband. Okay? So 1844, it's over for them. But then, about 19 years later, there was a remnant that formed out of the Millerites, and they formed into the Seventh Day Adventist Church. This started in Battle Creek, Michigan, in 1863. 19 years later. So now the Seventh Day Adventist Church is forming. Their main lady that they get so much of their doctrine from, her name is Ellen White. They to the Seventh Day Adventist Church is their prophetess. And they would sit in a room and they would listen to her tell things, say things. Hey, I just talked to God. This is what God said, and this is what we need to follow. Okay, and so that's forms a lot of the Seventh Day Adventist beliefs is formatted around this lady. Now, there's their history. Okay, now we're going to look at the Seventh Day Adventist doctrine, and we've already had 2 lessons. And we see it in their name, Seventh Day, the Sabbath. We have discussed that, and we went through that in 2 lessons prior to this. So if you'd like to watch that, if you haven't, get on my YouTube channel, find those 2 lessons, lesson 1 and 2 in the Seventh Day Adventist, and it'll take you through the Sabbath. The other part of their belief system is the second advent of Christ. Okay? Second advent. And I'll explain to you how that works. This is the one we're going to discuss today. And we're going to take this lesson and one more, and then we'll be finished with the Seventh Day Adventist. It's going to be a 4-part series. 2 on the Sabbath, 2 on the second advent of Christ. So let's get started. Let's look at this second advent of Jesus as the Seventh-day Adventist teaching. So what they're going to do is they are going to take William Miller's math equation and they're going to readjust it. Okay? They're going to make some changes to it. And so this is what they do. They're going to start in Daniel chapter 2. Daniel is a massive, massive book for the Seventh-day Adventist. Okay, it makes up a lot of their theology is going to come out of Daniel. So let's go to Daniel, and this is King Nebuchadnezzar. He's the Babylonian king, and he is going to have a dream. Okay, and then Daniel is going to come along and interpret that dream for him. And this is the interpretation of the dream. So he has this dream about this huge statue, and it's got some pieces to it. Here's Daniel telling him what that dream means. Watch what he says here. Verse 39 of chapter 2. After you, another kingdom will rise inferior to yours. Next, a third kingdom, one of bronze, will rule over the whole earth. So what do you see here? These different pieces of this statue is not just a statue, they are kingdoms. That's what the Bible says. We have the first one is King Nebuchadnezzar, the Babylonian kingdom. Number 2 is going to be the Medo-Persians. They came in after him. Third is going to be the Grecian Empire. Get any history book out, you'll see they come in. And then here's where the dream really focuses. Finally, there will be a fourth kingdom, strong as iron, for iron breaks and smashes everything. And as the iron breaks things to pieces, so it will crush and break all the others. Just as you saw the feet and the toes were partly of baked clay and partly of iron, so this will be a divided kingdom. Yet it will have some of the strength of iron in it, even as you saw iron mixed with clay. As the toes were partly iron and partly clay, so this kingdom, we're still with the same kingdom, will be partly strong and partly brittle. And just as you saw the iron mixed with baked clay, the people will be a mixture and will not remain united any more than iron mixes with clay. Okay? So there's the interpretation. We're dealing with kingdoms. How many? 4. 4 kingdoms. Okay? Can you see that? And that fourth kingdom is going to be the Roman Empire. Now, during the Roman Empire, if you will read on and here in Daniel, you're going to see that somebody is going to come during that Roman Empire and set up a kingdom that will never be destroyed. Who was that? Who came during the Roman Empire? Jesus. There you go. And he's going to set up a kingdom that will never be destroyed. It will endure forever and ever. That's what this dream is. Huge prophecy. Okay? So, again, here are the 4 kingdoms. The Babylonian, the Medo-Persian, the Grecian Empire, and then Rome. 4 kingdoms. Very clear. But yet, this is what they believe. What do they believe? They believe that there are 5 kingdoms. Okay? Now, if you'll notice here, you got Babylon, Medo-Persian, Grecian, and then Rome. Then they go from Rome and they go to what? Papal Rome. The popes of the Roman Catholic Church. And you can see it right here by my picture. And that's going to end them up in 1844. Okay? That's what they do. So what did they do? They added a what? a fifth kingdom. Text never said there was a fifth kingdom. It was only dealing with the fourth kingdom. And in that fourth kingdom, Jesus is going to come and set up a kingdom that will never be destroyed. Okay? Having nothing to do with the Catholic popes. Nothing. But that's what they teach. They teach that's where this chapter is pointing to. Interesting. Well, that is a wrong conclusion. That is the wrong context. In fact, that is going beyond the text that is written. Do we have the right to go beyond the text that is written? No, we do not. If it said four kingdoms, and that's the fourth kingdom, and here's what's going to happen during that fourth kingdom, we haven't never left the fourth kingdom. They add a fifth for their theology. Okay? So, I just want to show you that. You go back and read that. You tell me if there's a fifth kingdom in there or not. And there's not. But let's keep going. Now the Seventh Day Adventist is going to go to Daniel chapter 7. Now here in Daniel chapter 7, King Nebuchadnezzar is now dead and gone. Okay? And now Daniel is going to have a dream. Okay? Well, let's see what his dream is about. His dream is very much like Nebuchadnezzar's dream. It will also deal with four kingdoms. But instead of a statue like King Nebuchadnezzar had, Daniel is going to have four animals or four beasts, very odd looking beasts, okay? And you will see in the text that we're dealing with the four kingdoms again, okay? And they both end up with who? Rome, okay? And that is really the focus of each dream. Okay, so this is going to be something to the future that both Daniel will never see and King Nebuchadnezzar will never see. But the focus is something that's going to happen with this Roman Empire. Well, during the Roman Empire in chapter 2, Jesus came and set up an empire, a kingdom that will never be destroyed. But in this dream, notice what is going to happen with the Roman Empire in Daniel 7. He gave me this explanation. So Daniel is now having this dream interpreted. The fourth beast is a fourth kingdom. Okay, four. Okay, just like Daniel 2. That will appear on earth. It will be different from all the other kingdoms and will devour the whole earth, trampling it down and crushing it. The fourth beast. Okay, now this is Rome. All right. And Rome has been the greatest nation on the earth as far as taking over more of the known world than any other kingdom that this world has known. Okay? All right. Physical kingdom. Now, what's going to come from the Roman Empire? Verse 24 says in Daniel 7, the 10 horns, this is that beast, and it has horns, are 10 what? Kings. Kings. So, did Rome have kings? Yeah, they're called Caesars, okay? Who will come from this kingdom? What kingdom? The fourth kingdom, Rome. After them, another king will arise. So 10 plus 1 is what? 11, okay? He's going to be different from the earlier ones. He will subdue 3 kings. He will speak against the Most High. He will oppress the saints, Christians, and try to change the set times and the laws. The saints will be handed over to him for a time, times, and half a time. All right? This is pointing to who? If you go to the Roman Caesars, okay, let's just list them out. The first Caesar was Caesar Augustus. This is when Jesus was born. You go to Luke chapter 2, and when Jesus was born, he was born under Caesar Augustus. His ministry and his death will take place during Caesar Tiberius. You will see that in Luke chapter 3. Okay? After him will come Caligula, Claudius, and Nero. But then notice that 3 Caesars will show up, and they're only going to last a few months. They're just cutting each other's heads off, and it's total chaos back in Rome. Okay? And here it says that 3 will be subdued, that he, this 11th horn, okay, this king, this Caesar, will subdue 3 kings. Now go back to Daniel 2. Didn't we see in Daniel 2 that this nation of Rome was going to be partially weak and partially strong? Remember the feet and the toes were partially made of clay, partially made of iron. So there was strong parts to this nation and there was weak parts. This was a very weak time during the Roman Empire. They're just cutting kings' heads off or Caesar's heads off left and right, okay? But then Vespasian comes in and he gets things going again. And then his son, when he dies, Titus takes over. But then there is this 11th one. This is Caesar Domitian. Now, the one thing that was different about Caesar Domitian was this, okay? He was different from all the other Caesars because when all these Caesars died, Rome would make them a god. Domitian says, well, we're not going to wait for that. When I become Caesar, I'm going to be God now. And you're going to worship me and address me as God now. That made him different. And if you don't do that, he would have people killed. That's what the saints are going to have a hard time with. Because if they're Christians, they're like, I'm not following him. I'm not calling him God. And so the saints will be handed over to him for a time, times, and half a time. That is the context of what's going on here. The fulfillment of this is going to be the book of Revelation, because that's what the book of Revelation, the 7 churches of ages, is going to go through. They're going to have to deal with this guy, and they're going to have to deal with this persecution. And so here's the prophecy, and the fulfillment is Revelation. Okay? So he's the little horn. But that's not what the Seventh Day Adventists believe. What they're going to do is they're going to take the statue of Daniel 2. Okay, you see the statue there, okay, laying sideways. They're going to say this last part is a 5th kingdom. And then they're going to take these 4 beasts, and then they're going to say that this horn that comes off, this little horn, okay, that grew up, okay, he is going to be, this is papal Rome. See? They're going after the Catholic Church. And they're going after their popes. They're saying that this is the pope system. And they're adding this into the text. All right? But again, is that what the text is saying? Is that the context of the text? Now, I don't believe it is. I don't think it has anything to do with Roman popes. And so again, what they're doing is they're stretching that to make a theology out of that. So that's the wrong conclusion. It's the wrong context, and it goes beyond the text of the Bible that was written. That's how they handled Daniel chapter 7. Now let's go to Daniel chapter 8, because this is the big one for them. And let's see if they handled this one correctly. So now Daniel is going to have another dream. Okay? So he had a dream in chapter 7. He's going to have another one in chapter 8. And here's his dream. He's going to dream about 2 different animals here. Just 2 in this one, not 4. Okay? And we don't have to guess at this because I'm going to show you here in a minute that the text is going to tell you exactly who these animals are. It is this ram that has 2 horns. That is the Medo-Persian Empire. And then you're going to deal with the Grecian Empire, the Grecian kingdom. And those are the 2 animals. And this goat is going to trample and destroy the Medo-Persians. which in history, that's exactly what happened. Okay? So this is what this dream has to do with. And then at the end of this dream, this is what goes on. Look at verse 13 and 14. Now again, go back and read this whole chapter so you can really get a feel for this, all right? I only have time to go through a short part of it because there's so much to it, but you can see the gist of it. Then I heard a holy one speaking, and another holy one said to him, how long will it take for the vision to be fulfilled? This vision that Daniel just got. The vision concerning the daily sacrifice, we'll see that in a minute. The rebellion that causes desolation, we'll see that in a minute. And the surrender of the sanctuary and the host that will be trampled underfoot. When is this going to be fulfilled? Well, here's the answer. He said to me, it will take 2,300 evenings and mornings. Then the sanctuary will be reconsecrated. All right? Now remember what the Seventh Day Adventist does with this. They turn that 2,300 mornings and evenings and they turn that into years. This is where it comes from, right here. How long? This is how long. Now, what's going to happen is now Daniel is going to have his dream interpreted. Okay? He has a dream, and these angels, holy ones, whoever they are going to come and interpret this for him. He said to me, he said, I'm going to tell you what will happen later in the time of wrath, because the vision concerns the appointed time of the end. Now, when you read that, just all by itself, what do you think this is talking about? Well, most people in my class this last week said, oh, that's the end of time, right? Yeah, it sounds like it. But isn't it important to stay with context? I mean, when someone says this is the end, the time of the end, it could be the end of your life. It could be an end of a reign. It could be the end of, I don't know, the Dallas Cowboys and their winning streak or whatever it is, right? It could be a lot of different things. And only the context is going to tell you. So don't let your mind go automatically and say, oh, that's talking about the end of time. Let's see what end it's talking about. So, again, what will tell us the answer? Context, context, right? So now let's go to the context. Next verse. The two-horned ram that you saw represents the kings of Media and Persia. Oh, so I don't have to guess at this, neither do you. It's telling us who this animal is. It represents the kings of Media and Persia. Okay? So there it is. Daniel chapter 8. That's the kingdom of the Medo-Persians. Got it. Okay? And this is the area that they took over. Media, Persia. Okay? A lot of area during that time. The shaggy goat is the king of who? Greece. And the large horn between his eyes is the first king. He's the first king. Okay? Of who? The Grecian Empire. Got it. So there he is. There's the goat. There's the horn. And this is the kingdom of Greece. And the horn is the first king. Go to your history books. Who's the first king of the Grecian Empire? He was named Alexander the Great. Read about him in a lot of history books, okay? And here's the area that they took over. Now, the four horns that replaced the one that was broken off, okay? So in the dream, go back and look at the dream. One's going to be broken off, and then four are going to take its place. Represents four kingdoms that will emerge from his nation, but will not have the same power. Okay? Interesting. So here's that horn broken off. You can see that little red spot in the middle there in the forehead. And then you've got 4 that take his place. 4 kingdoms from this nation, Greece. All right. Now we're still dealing with the Grecian Empire. And these 4 are going to be the 4 generals that's going to take his place. Okay? Go to history and you're going to find it out. It's real simple. 4 generals. And this is how that Grecian Empire was split up. Do you see the 4 different colors? There they are. 4 different parts by those 4 different generals. It's still the Grecian Empire, but it's divided up. There they are. And there's the 4 generals. And you can read their names. Okay, kind of hard to pronounce for me, but there they are. Okay. And then comes another little horn. Out of one of them came another horn, which started small but grew in power. Now, where did he grow to? To the south and to the east and toward the beautiful land. Now, if you're Daniel and you're getting this, what would be the beautiful land? If you ask me, what is the beautiful land? I'm from northern Michigan, okay? I'm going to say, Lake Michigan, Lake Huron, Mackinac Island, right? The sand dunes over at Sleepy Bear Dunes, Traverse City, that's Charlevoix, that's the beautiful land. Torch Lake, right? That's the beautiful lake. Well, to Daniel, the beautiful land is going to be Israel, okay? He wants to go back home. He's been taken away into slavery. Now you got the context, okay? So that's where this king, okay, is going to go towards. It grew until it reached the host of the heavens, and it threw some of the starry host down to the earth and trampled on them. It itself set itself up to be as great as the prince of the host. Boy, he's doing the same thing that this guy over here in the book of Daniel earlier in chapter 7 wanted to do, man. I want to be like the Most High. Okay? There's been lots of people in history that's done that. Here's another one. Okay? It took away the daily sacrifices from him, and the place of his sanctuary was brought low. Where's the sanctuary at? It's Israel, right? Okay? So it's brought low. That's where the temple's at. Because of rebellion, the host of the saints and the daily sacrifice were given over to it. It prospered in everything it did, and it threw truth to the ground. What's the truth? God's word. Interesting. That's all in this prophecy of this person coming out of the Grecian Empire that's going to go down to the beautiful land, okay? And he's going to cause a bunch of havoc in Israel. Okay? In the latter part of their reign, when rebels have become completely wicked, a stern-faced king, a master of intrigue, will arise. He will become very strong, but not by his own power. He will cause astonished devastation and will succeed in whatever he does. He will destroy the mighty men of the holy people. He will cause deceit to prosper. He will consider himself superior, and when they feel secure, he will destroy many and take his stand against the Prince of Princes, yet he will be destroyed not by human power. That means God's going to take him out. So what we did was we read the part of the dream that he had, and then here's the interpretation of the dream. So this gives a pretty good example of who this guy is going to be and what is he going to be about. So here comes this guy. He's going to come out of the Grecian Empire, and we're going to find out that this is Antiochus Epiphanes IV. That's who this guy is. All right? So there they are. And here's this little horn coming out of one of the others. There they are. You can see the four generals. Alexander the Great was in the middle. He was broken off, and the four generals took over. And then out of one of them, here comes this Antiochus Epiphanes. That's the dream. That's what's going to happen. It's going to be in the future. It's in Daniel's future. He will never see these things, but this is what's eventually going to happen during this period that is talked about here. There they are. So this is Antiochus Epiphanes. He's going to go where? Towards the beautiful land. That's Israel. So there they are. The Medo-Persians is now in this dream gone. The Grecians take over. The large horn is Alexander the Great. He's got his four generals. And then out of one of them comes this Antiochus Epiphanes. And he's going to set himself up like he's God. Okay? Just like many people have in history. But this is all of a prediction. Yet, the Seventh Day Adventists believe differently. They believe that what's happening here is they're going to take this 2,300 mornings and evenings, they're going to turn it into years. They are going to go back to Daniel chapter 9 to get their starting date, 457 BC, okay, using, they believe Jesus died, going back 490 years, okay. So they're going to use that prophecy combined with this prophecy of Daniel chapter 8. They're going to add this, right? They're going to add their 1 to it, and they're going to come up with 1844. And this is what they teach, that this is when God handed his reign over to Jesus. And then what Jesus is going to do is he is going to start reading through all of the sins, and he is going to cleanse the heavenly sanctuary. And whenever he gets done reading these, and they don't give a date, then he will return to this earth and there'll be final judgment. Now that's what they do. That's their math equation borrowed off of the Millerites. So what they do is the Millerites landed at 1844 and said this is when Jesus was going to return. Well, of course he didn't. They're going to borrow off of that and say, yes, he returned in a spiritual sense. This is when the reign of heaven is going to be handed over to him, and then he is going to start reading through the sins, and whenever he gets done, he's going to return. So that was the first advent that the Millerites came up with. Now we're under the second advent of what the Seventh Day Adventists came up with. I have to tell you that that is not a good conclusion. Because what did Jesus say in Matthew 28 when he's standing there with his apostles? He says, all authority in heaven and on earth has been given to me. All authority. All authority. Colossians says that Jesus is preeminent. So when did this reign belong to Jesus? Not in 1844, but in Matthew 28, Colossians chapter 1. Jesus is God. So reign did not get handed over to him. This is not his beginning of his reign in 1844, as the Seventh-day Adventists will tell you. And then we're going to see in our next lesson, what's the Bible going to tell us in the book of Hebrews? It's going to use this phrase, once for all. Once for all. Once for all. It's going to happen about 6 times in that book. And it's going to talk about sins. Once for all, sin will be done away with. When did that happen? In the New Testament. When Jesus died. That's what the book of Hebrews is going to tell us. Seventh-day Adventists say, no. There has to be more done with sin. The cross wasn't good enough. We have some more events that must take place, and we must have Jesus now continuing to get rid of sin as he goes into heaven and reads through sin. So once for all is not once for all. There's more to the story. And you're going to see that in the next lesson. And you're going to see that this theology is really, can I be bold enough to say blasphemy? That's what this theory does? Can you take the Bible and turn it and twist it to say just the opposite of what God's word says? And God be very angry with that? Yes. And how are we going to know what the truth is? By reading and studying. We've got to do our work. And this is not a right conclusion. 1844 is so very important to the Seventh Day Adventist movement. If you can show that this was not what the Bible was talking about, has nothing to do with 1844, their whole premise will be destroyed. The whole deck of cards will fall. We're going to get together next week, Lord willing, if you're with me, and we're going to look at where does this point to? Where do we find the fulfillment of this prophecy? We're going to go over here and look at Antiochus Epiphanes, and we're going to use history, a historical book, to show that everything that Daniel was showed matches up with this guy perfectly. And then we'll see exactly where those 2,300 mornings and evenings show up and where their fulfillment is, and it will totally destroy this whole theology. But you got to come back. So we're going to look at this and look at it in detail. We're going to use the book of Maccabees, Maccabees 1, Maccabees 2. This is found in the Apocrypha. These are not inspired books of the Bible, but these two books are very historically accurate and actually show the fulfillment in history of what Daniel was predicting. The two are going to match up perfectly. And we're going to use our Catholic Bible to find that it will tell about that history inside the Apocrypha. If we can show people this, our Seventh-day Adventist friends or our Sabbatarian friends or whoever believe these kind of things, hopefully it will cause them to question what they've been taught. Maybe it will turn them enough to be brought out from the Seventh-day Adventist Church. Because what they teach is not what the Bible teaches. It may sound good, very interesting. Man, it has to do with these Catholic popes. But that's not the context. Not the context at all. So come back, let's prove out this, and then let's go reach our Seventh-day Adventist friends in love and kindness. I pray that you've been encouraged by this. I am only doing this because I love you guys. But I want you to think about one more thing. If you know anything about me, I have just dedicated my life to evangelism. I want to reach this world for Jesus. I've put a workbook together. It's not an inspired book of the Bible. Okay. It's handwritten by man. That's me. But it has over 800 printed verses and another 900 references to the Bible. I have this book in Spanish. In fact, it's being translated, or it's in 9 different languages in this world. I have DVD videos and thumb drives with all these PowerPoints, all to put in your hands to help you to go out and reach people and reach the lost in this world. I also do evangelism workshops. Here's a long list of the workshops that I've done. The ones in color here are ones that I've recently done or upcoming ones. I just had another one booked today for next year. Here's a long list. Have me come and do an evangelism workshop and help your church grow and get to be more evangelistic. I would love to come and share with you what I've learned from the Bible. Here's my contact information. You can get a hold of me at the Brown Street Church of Christ in Waxahachie, Texas. You can go to my email and send me an email at seconduppreacher@yahoo.com, or you can get on my website, savingsoulstoday.org. My website is not up currently, but it will be here in just a couple of months. We're working on it and revamping it, and it should look a whole lot better. Guys, I love you. Thanks for listening to me. Thanks for your time. Hopefully, we'll see you next time. We got one more lesson on the Seventh Day Adventists. Please pray for them. Please pray for us. I pray that we have handled the scripture correctly and biblically. God bless you. We'll see you next time.